Once an execution date is finalized, a condemned prisoner goes through a customary ritual preceding execution. This includes picking and, dare I say, enjoying their last meal. Various countries have various traditions in this regard. Traditional as it sounds, some individuals have been known to pick really disturbing menu items. It makes you wonder what could have been going through these criminals' minds during their last few minutes on Earth. Let's take a peek at strangest last meal requests of death row inmates. Ricky Ray Rector. Ricky Ray Rector was put to death in Arkansas by lethal injection at the age of 42. He was sentenced to death for 2 counts of murder. For his last meal, Rector requested and received a steak, fried chicken, cherry Kool-Aid, and pecan pie. Rector left the pie on the side of the tray, telling the corrections officers who came to take it from him to the execution chamber that he was saving it for later. The slice of pecan pie was not disposed of until Rector had been executed. Robert Alton Harris. Robert Alton Harris was executed in a gas chamber in 1992 for the 1978 murders of 2 teenage boys in San Diego. His execution was the first in the state of California since 1967. For his last meal, he wanted a 21-piece bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, large Domino's pizzas, ice cream, a bag of jelly beans, a 6-pack of Pepsi, and a pack of Camel cigarettes. Ronnie Threadgill. Ronnie was put to death in Texas by lethal injection at the age of 40. He had been sentenced to death for murder. For his last meal, Threadgill requested baked chicken, mashed potatoes with country gravy, vegetables, sweet peas, bread, tea, water, and punch. However, Texas abolished last meal choice in 2011, so old Ronnie was just given the same meal as everyone else in his unit. Ronnie Lee Gardner. This other Ronnie received the death penalty for murder in 1985 and was executed by a firing squad by the state of Utah in 2010. Gardner's attorney said that his client did not want to attract attention and simply preferred to die in this way because he would have preferred to die of old age, but the other option was not available to him. For his last meal, Gardner requested steak, a lobster tail, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, and to eat all while watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Ted Bundy. Chris Hagen, Kenneth Missner, Officer Roseland, Richard Burton, and Rolf Miller were some of the aliases used by Theodore Robert Bundy. One of the most notorious serial killers in American history, Ted was put to death in Florida on an electric chair at the age of 43. He was sentenced to death for prison escape and more than 35 counts of murder. Bundy declined a special meal, so he was given the traditional last meal: steak cooked medium rare, eggs over easy, hash browns, toast with butter and jelly, milk and juice. Peter J. Minial. J. Minial was a death row inmate. He was a professional criminal who was convicted of murdering another man by beating and stabbing him to death. Peter requested one of the largest death row inmate meals in history. The 42-year-old asked for 20 beef tacos, 20 beef enchiladas, 2 double cheeseburgers, a jalapeno pizza, fried chicken, spaghetti, fruitcake, half of a chocolate cake and half of a vanilla cake, cookies and cream and caramel pecan fudge ice cream, 2 Cokes, 2 Pepsis, 2 root beers, and 2 glasses of orange juice. Lawrence Russell Brewer. By far the strangest death row inmate's last meal request, Lawrence Russell Brewer asked for a massive helping of food: 2 chicken fried steaks and sliced onions dripping in gravy, a triple meat bacon cheeseburger with everything on the side, 1 cheese omelet with ground beef, tomatoes, onions, bell peppers, and jalapenos, a big bowl of fried okra with ketchup, 1 pound of barbecue meat and half a loaf of white bread, 3 fajitas with all the toppings, a Pizza Hut meat lover's pizza, a pint of Bluebell vanilla ice cream, a slab of peanut butter fudge with crushed peanuts on top, and 3 root beers. Saddam Hussein. Yes, him. Former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was executed by hanging in 2006. There is a fair bit of dispute as to what Hussein's last meal was. Some sources claim it was mostly Western food, even eating a hamburger and fries before the execution, while others say he was offered chicken and shawarma rice right before the execution but declined. He said he was ready to die as a martyr. In the hours before the execution, Saddam had a cup of hot water with honey. Bruno Richard Hauptmann. He was executed by the state of New Jersey in 1936 for the murder of the Lindbergh baby. For his final meal, Bruner Richard Hauptmann had asked for celery, olives, a salmon salad, corn fritters, sliced cheese, a fruit salad, and slice of cake for dessert, served with coffee and milk. He was captured after finding himself blocked by a truck on Park Avenue just north of Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. His trial was dubbed the trial of the century, while Hauptmann was named the most hated man in the world. Are you creeped out enough? Wait till we go over the top 10 strangest last meal requests. Thomas J. Grasso. Executed by the state of Oklahoma in 1995, Thomas J. Grasso also ordered a hefty menu. His last meal request included 2 dozen steamed mussels, 2 dozen steamed clams, half a dozen barbecue spare ribs, a Burger King double cheeseburger, 2 strawberry milkshakes, half a pumpkin pie with whipped cream, and diced strawberries. Grasso also ordered a 16-ounce can of spaghetti and meatballs, later complaining that he asked for SpaghettiOs, not just spaghetti. Peter Curtin. He was dubbed the Vampire of Dusseldorf for drinking the blood from the wounds of some of his victims. Peter Curtin was a German serial killer sentenced to death in 1931 on 9 counts of murder and 7 counts of attempted murder. He requested Wiener Schnitzel, fried potatoes, and a bottle of white wine for his final meal. He enjoyed it so much that he asked for seconds of all of it. He had committed a series of assaults and murders against adults and children, most notoriously from February to November 1929 in Dusseldorf. Marion Albert Pruitt. The last meal request of inmate Marion Albert Pruitt nearly tops our list for a volume enough to feed a starving army. Originally, Pruitt said he was intended to share the meal with another inmate who would be executed the same day. He requested a Pizza Hut stuffed crust pizza, 4 Burger King Whoppers, a large order of French fries, 3 2-liter Pepsi bottles, fried eggplant, fried squash, fried okra, and a whole pecan pie. He wanted to request roast duck, but didn't believe the prison could cook it for him. Joseph Mad Dog Taborski. Taborski willed his body to science and his eyes to the eye bank. He remained calm to the end. On the day of his execution, May 17, 1960, he asked for a big banana split and a cherry soda was his last meal, as he bid farewell to his fellow doomed men. He was a serial killer who was sentenced to death after a string of robberies and murders in Connecticut during the 1950s. Philip Workman. Philip Workman's last meal request is one of the most bizarre on the list. Workman, who was executed by the state of Tennessee in 2007, asked the prison to give a large vegetarian pizza to a homeless person in Nashville, declining his own meal. Though the prison refused, many other people across Tennessee fulfilled his wish and brought hundreds of pizzas to homeless shelters on his execution day. Angel Nieves Diaz. This dangerous criminal was put to death in Florida by lethal injection at the age of 55. He was sentenced to death for murder, kidnapping, and armed robbery, though he maintained his innocence until his death in the jail. Diaz declined death row last meal, so he was served the regular prison meal of shredded turkey with taco seasoning, shredded cheese, rice, pinto beans, tortilla shells, apple crisp, and iced tea. Again, he declined to eat. His real stories put him in the crime reel and documentaries. John Wayne Gacy. Serial killer John Wayne Gacy was put to death in Illinois by lethal injection at the age of 52. The killer clown was sentenced to death for 33 counts of murder. For his last meal, Gacy requested 12 fried shrimp, a bucket of original recipe KFC French fries, and a pound of strawberries. One interesting fact is, prior to being convicted, Gacy managed 3 KFC outlets. Victor Harry Feguer. Victor Feguer was tried and convicted of murder in a federal court for his crimes. He was sentenced to death by hanging. Victor was the last federal inmate executed in the United States before the moratorium on the death penalty following the Furman v. Georgia criminal case. He was also the last person to be executed in Iowa. After Victor's death, it would be nearly 40 years until the next federal execution. Victor was put to death at the age of 28. For his last meal, he requested a single olive with the pit in it. Stephen Michael Woods, Jr. In 2004, Woods was fighting for prisoner rights. The fairness of Woods' and punishment was highly criticized by American philosopher, cognitive scientist, historian, and political activist Noam Chomsky and human rights group Amnesty International. Woods' criminal case was reported locally and internationally. He requested a large pizza with bacon, sausage, pepperoni, chicken fried steak, hamburgers with bacon on French toast, garlic breadsticks, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, root beer, sweet tea, and ice cream. James Edward Smith. About 1983, a criminal named James Edward Smith killed a man and eventually was sentenced to death. Surprisingly, his last meal request was very strange because he did not ask for real food, but for a piece of soil. The reason is that he is a voodoo and he needed to use the clay to perform certain rituals. Of course, in the end, the prison did not meet his requirements because the soil is not considered food, and they eventually gave him a cup of yogurt. Woman in Virginia. This vicious woman hired two men to murder her husband and stepson in order to obtain high insurance money. But it is clear that everything he did not escape justice, and she was eventually sentenced to death for the crime she committed. She is the first female prisoner to be executed by lethal injection in Virginia, USA. And her last meal was somewhat surprising. Her choices were some fried chicken, butter peas, apple pie, and a Dr. Pepper. Golden last meal. But first, do us a favor. Click that like button to inspire us. Subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell and you won't miss any interesting videos. Done then? Let's go. People can do really weird stuff when they have absolutely nothing to lose. This gold-loving pirate caught in Indonesia asked for something at his last meal that baffled others. What's the worst do you think a notorious pirate from the 1700s could ask for his last meal? Well, this outlaw asked for what he loved to collect, or better yet, steal. Yes, you guessed it, nothing other than gorgeous shiny gold. He literally asked for a solid gold bar. Obviously, his request for the lavish golden last meal was rejected. Among all the lavish meals that death row inmates have ordered, including the famous Texan inmate, this might just be the most expensive one. Which was the weirdest meal? Do you have any ideas about different meals? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comment section. To keep up to date with all of our awesome videos, be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take care of yourself.